Lost Ark is coming to the West, ladies and gentlemen. We have beta just here, days away. And as such, we're just going to bring you a quick little, very basic beginner tips video on some things that might make your first playthrough more enjoyable, or, maybe you would have liked to have known that the first time through. It's nothing going to be, groundbreaking or game breaking or just completely change the way you play the game. They're just some very nice things to know in order to make your first playthrough a little more enjoyable. So the first thing I want to talk about is your leveling process. For the most part, many of you might feel like you need to do side quests. Side quests in Lost Ark don't generate a lot of XP. In fact, for the most part, you don't need to do side quests at all to level up. However, at some point, you will come back in the long term of your gameplay to do side quests, because you will need to do a full completionist. There is a completionist percentage for each map, each zone, each continent. And so that will include going back and doing some of those side quests and doing quests that NPCs have for developing their affinities and relationships with them and so on. So at some point you will go back and do them. But because this is going to be a short 1 week beta, and I'm sure everybody's going to want to just level through as fast as possible, what you're going to do is you are going to just focus on doing your main story quest, just the main story quest. You'll follow that all the way through to level 45. Once you get to level 45, you should be around the continent Arthetine, or whatever it's called for our localization. And that is going to be where you are going to begin to do your main story quest and every yellow side quest that you come along. And in doing so, by the time you come over to Burn, which will be the last segment that you'll go to initially through the leveling process to get to 50, you'll have a little short quest series in Chrono Harbor that'll take you to Burn Castle, and that should put you at 50. The reason why this is important is that there is a quest that is going to stop you in Burn when you get there that requires you to be 50. So that's an important thing in terms of getting to 50, and so you will not be able to progress beyond that point, and it's really going to suck trying to backtrack and try and figure out where there's some quests for you to go and do. So that is the most efficient way for you to get to 50, if that's the way you would like to do it. On release, long term, again, side quests won't be the worst thing in the world to do as you're leveling up, but at some point you will go back in time anyways and do them. So, just depends when you want to do them and if you want to get to the end game faster or later and whatnot. All right. Alongside that, there's going to be a point where some people might get confused with the main story quest. Initially, the main story quest is going to be this big orange icon that you are going to follow on your map all the way up through around level 30. At some point, it is actually going to turn into these globes, these blue turquoise diamonds with a globe inside of it. All right. That will occur when you complete the quest chain up through to Main Wave Harbor and you get your ship. When you get your ship, that is when your main story quest converts into this blue icon over here. And that is what you're going to follow all the way up through to Burn and for a lot of the story going forward. So just keep your eye out for that. Don't think like, I can't find my main story quest icon. I've been following this orange icon the whole time and now it's not here. Oh, where is it? It changes. It throws some people off. That's just one thing to keep note of. Now, a really important one is going to be as soon as you come out of the prologue, or if you skipped the prologue, very shortly upon leaving it, you are going to have a guide mission to get a pet. All right. The guide missions are these purple quests. These are some of the only quests you will do aside from your main story quest while you're leveling. It's very important to do the pet one when it first becomes available upon leaving the prologue, is because your pet is going to be something that is going to loot all your silver, your items, your gear, everything that drops on the ground. Your pet will automatically loot it. All pets do this, including the one that the game gives to you. So as soon as you finish that prologue, make sure you are going and completing that guide mission for your pet. You're able to do it almost immediately following exiting the prologue. So definitely want to make sure you take care of that, because having a pet that just loots everything for you will make your leveling experience a lot better, not having to go and run after all the mobs and get all their loot and everything. It just automatically goes into your inventory. It's great. A couple of other nice things to know is the Song of Return, which is what you use to leave dungeons or islands or boats or things like that if you feel like you get stuck somewhere and you can't find an exit. This part should be covered by the game, but sometimes people miss it, or it happens and they don't realize that they did the quest for it. But your Song of Return, you can always access it by hitting F2. This brings up your music sheet and you play the song or Song of Return, and it will allow you to escape from any dungeon or instanced area that you are in. You will not be able to use this if you are in like a town or something, because you're no longer like in a separate individual instance area. So Song of Return is just going to be a really nice way for you to get out from there. There's a lot of other different songs that you can use for teleporting around. Additionally, a nice teleport thing is the overlay map. Normally, if you wanted to teleport, you would have to open the regular map, and now you can't click anywhere on your screen except for around the edges of the map. But if you want to just, a nice quality of life, quicker way of fast traveling, the overlay map, you are able to actually teleport via the platforms on the overlay map. You actually just alt click them and that will bring it up. So you are then able to teleport via the overlay map, and you don't have to bring up the regular map, which covers your screen. You can just use the see-through overlay map and, keep moving around as you see fit. So if you see a quest indicator pops up down there, right? Boom. Very simple, very basic. Some people just don't know about it though. So that's what this video is for. Lastly, and probably one of the most important things when you're leveling, for some classes, this will really impact the effectiveness of your ability to clear bosses or do the dungeons on your own, where you might be struggling because you feel like you're not doing enough damage. And that could simply just because of your stat point, your skill tree allocation. You're going to get a bunch of skill points as you're leveling up, but if you just put a couple skill points into each ability, that's fine. But some abilities completely transform in terms of effectiveness by distributing enough points into it to where you're able to get to that third tripod row down here. These third tripods oftentimes completely alter the way an ability functions or even looks and how much damage it does. So for example, if we were to just use Fist of Destruction by itself right here, all right, and we use it, we're going to see the damage that it does right here does about 9,000 damage. Like, okay, 9,000 damage. It's AoE. It would have hit everything there, okay? However, if we come in and we distribute 10 points into it, so boom, right there, save it, all right? And now we're going to do this again, right? We're going to see the ability completely transforms in terms of the amount of damage that it's doing and just how impactful it is, and visually and just everything that it does. It covers a much larger area, does way more damage, hits more frequently, and it's just a much better skill. As you can see, it did 40,000 damage. It did more than 4 times its original damage, all right? So just an example of how those things work is the first one, Endless Rage. The number of strikes increased to 9 from those 4 that you originally saw. Damage is increased by 30%. The range of hits is gradually increased by 30% as well. Each hit that hits the targets restores 2 units of spirit energy. Then we have Fire Explosion. Additionally, it inflicts a burning effect for 5 seconds and can stack up to 5 times. So it applies a burn effect for everybody that gets hit by it. So that's just more damage contributing to it. And then we have Shaking Area. With each strike on the ground, stone thorns grow from the ground and the damage is increased by 15%. So really great ability. And just allocating those points into Fist of Destruction all the way down makes it a much more devastating skill than what it would be without those points put into it. So you definitely should make sure that you are looking at certain skills and what their tripod effects do as you're leveling up and as you get new abilities. Look at what each one does. And fortunately, once you get to around level 30, you're going to be able to go into the training room, which is where we are right here. And you're actually going to get to mess around with all of your skills with an unlimited amount of skill points and cooldowns and all that stuff. So you can actually get a much better feel for your class in terms of how it all functions around level 30. So also, alongside allocating skill points appropriately for your abilities, there is also the food merchant in all of the major cities. This can also be something that will really help you when leveling up. You are able to buy 3 different foods from the vendor, and you can only buy 1 per hour. All right. And so you're going to buy all 3. And by buying all 3, that puts them on cooldown for an hour. And so for the next hour, you will cycle them individually every 20 minutes. Their food buff only lasts for 20 minutes. So one's a 250 stat to your ability, along with a 4% regen to your resource. This one is a 250 stat gain to whatever my primary stat is, along with 750 endurance. So it's going to give me a lot more HP while I'm leveling, make you a bit tankier. And then the other food just gives you 500 of your primary stat. So that's going to be a much more offensive food. So using the food as well can also help make your leveling process easier or more efficient, however you want to look at it, and might just be what you need to, get through a boss dungeon on your own if you're not able to find a. So that's going to be pretty much it. Just some really, guys, just some really extremely basic video information to, just small tips to help get some people started and, feel a little more comfortable with the game and its different systems and controls and things that it offers. So if you enjoy the video, guys, be sure to like and subscribe, and catch us live on Twitch at twitch.tv/Zav. We'll be having a lot more Lost Ark content coming. Have a good one.